They say the dead take their secrets with them, but sometimes the truth lingers, hidden in the things they leave behind. I thought going through my father's phone would bring me comfort. Instead, it opened a door I can never close. Before I begin, make sure to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support means the world. My name is Emily Carter, and until 3 weeks ago, my life was ordinary enough. I lived in a small town in Oregon, working as a receptionist at a local dental clinic, close enough to my parents to visit them every Sunday. I had no reason to believe that my family was anything but honest, even if we were not perfect. When my father, Daniel Carter, passed away from a sudden heart attack, the world shifted in ways I did not expect. It was not just the grief. It was the silence that followed, the way my mother avoided eye contact, the way my younger brother Jake buried himself in work instead of talking about it. The day after the funeral, I returned to my parents' house to help Mom sort through Dad's things. His clothes still smelled faintly of the aftershave he had used for years. His tools were neatly lined up in the garage. But it was the phone, an older model with a cracked case, that drew my attention. It sat on the kitchen counter, charging. "Do you want me to take care of this?" I asked Mom. She shook her head quickly, almost too quickly. "No, I will handle it later." Her voice was sharp, like she wanted to end the conversation. That alone made me curious. My mother had never been the secretive type. But in the days that followed, she did nothing about the phone. It stayed in the same spot, screen lighting up occasionally with new messages from people offering condolences. One evening, when I was at the house alone to bring her some groceries, I saw the phone again. This time, I picked it up. I told myself it was to find any messages from relatives who needed to be informed about Dad's passing. But deep down, there was something else. A pull. The lock screen was just a picture of the three of us, Mom, Dad, and me, at the beach. I knew the passcode. Dad had never hidden it from anyone. 0425, his birthday. I hesitated for a moment, but grief can make you do strange things. When I unlocked it, I expected the usual, photos of the family, text messages from friends, maybe a to-do list. And at first, that was exactly what I found. There were photos of Jake's graduation, pictures of our dog, snapshots of Dad's favorite fishing spots. But then, I noticed a message thread with someone named L. No last name. Just the initial. It was strange, because I did not remember Dad ever mentioning someone by that name. Curiosity prickled at me, and before I could stop myself, I tapped the thread. The first message I saw was from just a week before he died. L, did you tell her yet? Dad, not yet. I need to find the right time. My stomach tightened. Tell who? And tell what? I scrolled further back. There were dozens of messages, going back months. Some were short, like she is not ready or we need to talk. Others were more unsettling. L, she deserves to know. Dad, I know, but if I tell her, it will destroy everything. A cold weight settled in my chest. My father was not the kind of man who had secret affairs. At least, I never thought so. But what else could this be? The tone was too personal to be work-related. I backed out of the messages and checked his call log. L had called him several times, always late at night. Just then, I heard the front door open. My mother stepped inside, holding a bag of groceries. I quickly locked the phone and set it down on the counter. She glanced at it, then at me, her eyes narrowing just slightly. "Did you go through his phone?" she asked. I tried to keep my voice calm. "No, I was just moving it out of the way." She did not say anything else, but the tension in the room was thick enough to feel. I left soon after, but the curiosity gnawed at me all the way home. That night, I lay awake, thinking about L. About what Dad had meant when he said telling someone would destroy everything. And about why my mother's reaction had been so sharp. The next day, I made a decision. I would find out who L was, and what my father had been keeping from us. It did not take long. The number in his messages was not saved with a full name, but I copied it into my own phone and searched online. When the result came up, my breath caught. It was someone I knew. Someone I never imagined would be connected to my father in any way. But that was only the beginning. The name that appeared on my search results made my pulse skip. Linda Hayes. Linda was not a stranger. She lived only 3 streets away from my parents' house. She had been in my life for as long as I could remember. She was my mother's closest friend, or at least she had been, back when I was a teenager. Linda had attended every birthday party, every holiday dinner, and even helped take care of me and my brother when my parents went on trips. Seeing her name tied to those cryptic messages from my father sent a wave of nausea through me. I closed my laptop and paced the small living room of my apartment. Why would my father be texting Linda late at night? Why would he be telling her that revealing something to her would destroy everything? Was there her me? My mother? My mind kept circling the worst possibilities, but I could not settle on anything concrete. I told myself I needed to be rational. My father could have been talking about a family matter, something personal but not necessarily scandalous. Maybe Linda was helping him with a surprise for my mother. But the unease would not leave me. The next Sunday, I visited my mother as usual. She greeted me with a forced smile, the kind that did not reach her eyes. We made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, the same table where my father used to read the newspaper every morning. For a while, the conversation stayed safe. Updates about my brother, the weather, the new neighbors down the street. But I could not keep it in any longer. "Mom," I began carefully, "did Dad ever spend time with Linda?" Her spoon paused halfway to her mouth. "What do you mean?" I remember she used to be around a lot, and then suddenly she was not." Something flickered in her eyes, a quick flash of discomfort before she masked it. "People grow apart. Linda got busy. We did too." It was not a lie, exactly, but it felt incomplete. I decided to test the waters. I saw Dad's phone the other day. There were some messages from her. They seemed important. Her entire posture changed. She set down her spoon, leaned back slightly, and fixed me with a look that was both warning and weary. "Emily, you should not go digging into things that are over. Your father is gone. Let him rest." The words hit me harder than I expected. I am not trying to disrespect him. Then drop it, she interrupted, her tone sharper than I had heard in years. "Nothing good will come from reopening old wounds." We sat in tense silence after that, neither of us touching our coffee. I left earlier than usual, my thoughts churning. If she was telling me to drop it, it meant there was something to drop. That night, I decided to talk to Jake. My younger brother was always more laid back than me, less prone to digging into things, but maybe he knew something. I called him after dinner. "Hey Jake, did you ever notice Dad talking to Linda a lot? Or spending time with her?" He was quiet for a moment. "Why are you asking?" I came across some things on his phone." "Emily," he sighed, "Dad is gone. What difference does it make?" "It matters if he was keeping something from us." Jake hesitated, then said, "There was one time, maybe a year ago, when I saw him outside the coffee shop downtown with her. They were sitting close, talking quietly. I thought it was weird, but when I mentioned it to Mom, she brushed it off. Said they were just catching up." My heart sank. So it was not just late-night messages, it was in-person meetings too. "Did you think something was going on?" I asked. "I do not know," he admitted. "I did not want to know." I hung up feeling more unsettled than ever. Over the next few days, I could not focus at work. My thoughts kept drifting back to those messages. Who was the she they kept talking about? And what was so devastating that it could destroy everything? Finally, I decided I needed answers directly from the source. On Wednesday evening, I drove past Linda's house. The lights were on in the living room, casting a warm glow onto the lawn. Her car was in the driveway. I sat there for a few minutes, debating whether to go up and knock, or to drive away and pretend none of this existed. I got out of the car. My feet felt heavy as I walked up the familiar path to her front door. I rang the bell. When Linda opened the door, she looked surprised, but not in the way I expected. It was almost as if she had been expecting me eventually. "Emily," she said softly, "come in." I stepped inside, the scent of vanilla candles filling the air. The house looked the same as it had years ago, cozy and neatly arranged. "I was just making tea," she said. "Would you like some?" I nodded, though my throat was dry. We sat across from each other at her small kitchen table. "I suppose you want to talk about your father," she said finally. The directness caught me off guard. "Yes. I found messages. Between you and him." Her eyes softened with something I could not read. Guilt, maybe, or sadness. "I figured you might." "What were you talking about? Who is the she?" Linda sighed, looking down at her tea. "It is not my place to tell you everything. But I will say this. Your father cared about you more than anything in the world. Everything he did because he thought it was best for you." "That is not an answer," I said, my voice tightening. She looked up, meeting my eyes. "Sometimes, protecting someone means keeping them in the dark." The words sent a shiver through me. Protecting me from what? Before she could respond, her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, and whatever she saw made her expression tense. "I think you should go, Emily," she said quickly. "It is late." I wanted to push, to demand answers, but something in her tone stopped me. I left, but as I walked to my car, I noticed the curtain in her front window shift. Someone was watching from inside. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I woke to a message from an unknown number. "Stop asking questions." The words were simple, but they chilled me to the bone. The message sat on my phone screen like a threat carved into glass. "Stop asking questions." I stared at it for several seconds, trying to convince myself it was some kind of sick joke. But my gut told me otherwise. I did not recognize the number. No name, no history, no clue who had sent it. The first thing I did was take a screenshot. The second thing I did was lock all my doors. I spent the rest of the morning pacing my apartment, the sunlight streaming through the blinds feeling sharper than usual. Every shadow in the room seemed heavier. I kept thinking about who could have sent it. Linda? My mother? Someone else entirely? By noon, I decided to confront my mother again. I could not let this simmer in silence any longer. When I arrived at her house, she was in the garden, trimming rose bushes with meticulous care. She looked up as I approached, her eyes narrowing slightly, like she already knew I was here for more than just a visit. "Mom," I began, "someone texted me this morning. They told me to stop asking questions." Her clippers froze midair. "What questions?" "You know what I am talking about," I said, my voice rising. "About Dad. About Linda. About whatever it is you are both hiding." Her jaw tightened. She set the clippers down and removed her gloves slowly, as if buying herself time. "Emily," she said carefully, "grief does strange things to people. You are looking for patterns that are not there." "That is not true," I shot back. "I saw the messages. I talked to Jake. I even went to see Linda. And now I am getting threats." Her face paled. She looked away, focusing on the ground. "You went to see Linda?" "Yes," I said, stepping closer. "And she all but admitted there is something you are keeping from me." Her voice dropped. "It is not my secret to tell." I felt a surge of frustration. Then whose is it? Dad's? Linda's? Or mine? She did not answer. Instead, she turned and walked toward the house, leaving me standing in the yard. Inside, she poured herself a glass of water, her hands trembling slightly. "You need to let this go, Emily. For your own sake." "I cannot," I said. "Not until I know the truth." For a moment, her expression softened, almost as if she pitied me. But then she turned away again. I left without another word. That evening, I called Jake. He answered on the second ring, his voice groggy like I had woken him up from a nap. "I got a message this morning," I told him. "Someone told me to stop asking questions." There was a pause. "That is messed up. Do you think it was Linda?" "I do not know," I said. "But whoever it was, they know I am digging." Jake sighed. "Emily, I hate to say this, but maybe Mom is right. Maybe you should leave it alone." "You sound just like her," I said sharply. He hesitated. "I just do not want you to get hurt." His words stuck with me long after we hung up. Hurt. The idea that this was not just about emotional pain, but something physical, something dangerous, was beginning to feel more real. The next day at work, I was distracted. My co-worker, Sarah, noticed immediately. "You are jumpy today," she said, leaning over the reception desk. "I have just got family stuff going on," I said. She gave me a sympathetic look. "Family stuff can get ugly fast. My advice? Pick your battles." I forced a smile, but my mind was miles away. That evening, I drove past Linda's house again. This time, her lights were off. The driveway was empty. I parked across the street and sat there for a while, wondering what I was doing. It was not like she was going to just hand me the truth on a silver platter. As I was about to leave, a car pulled into her driveway. It was not hers. A tall man got out, wearing a baseball cap pulled low. He knocked on her door, and she let him in without hesitation. I could not see much from where I sat, but the whole interaction felt familiar somehow, like I had seen him before. I stayed for another 20 minutes, but the man never came out. Eventually, I drove home, my mind racing. 2 days later, something strange happened. I came home from work to find an envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a short handwritten note. "If you want to know the truth, meet me at Riverside Park, Friday at 8 p.m. Come alone." The handwriting was messy but legible. There was no name, no signature. I stared at it for a long time. This could be the break I needed, or it could be a trap. Friday evening, I drove to Riverside Park. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of orange and purple. The park was quiet except for the sound of crickets. I walked along the path toward the benches near the water. That was when I saw her. Linda. She was sitting on a bench, her hands folded in her lap. When she saw me, she stood. "You came," she said softly. "You left me a note?" I asked. "Yes." I could not say what I needed to at my house. "It is not safe." "Not safe from who?" I demanded. Her eyes darted to the shadows around us. "There are people who would rather you never learn the truth. Your father. He got involved in something years ago. Something he thought he could walk away from. But he could not." I felt my pulse quicken. What kind of something? Before she could answer, a twig snapped somewhere behind me. I turned, but saw nothing. When I looked back, Linda's expression had changed, fear etched into every line of her face. "We cannot talk here," she whispered. "Go home. I will call you." She hurried past me, disappearing into the darkness before I could stop her. When I got home, there was another message waiting on my phone. This one was from the same unknown number as before. "Last warning. Stop." When I read the words on my phone, "Last warning. Stop." I felt a strange mixture of fear and defiance. Whoever was sending these messages clearly wanted to scare me into silence. But by now, it was far too late to back down. I sat at my kitchen table, the envelope from the park still lying there. Linda's face, pale and anxious under the dim light, replayed in my mind. She had been about to tell me something important before we were interrupted. Something about my father and what he had been involved in. I told myself I would wait for her call. But 2 days passed, and nothing came. No messages. No knock at the door. It was as if she had vanished. On the third day, I drove to her house. The blinds were drawn tight. The driveway was empty. I knocked, then rang the bell. No answer. The quiet was heavy, unnatural. I went home and tried calling her number. Straight to voicemail. Panic began to edge in around my thoughts. What if something had happened to her? What if she had been silenced before she could speak to me again? That night, I poured myself a cup of tea and sat down with my father's phone. I had avoided looking too deeply into it since finding the messages, but now I was determined to see if there was something I had missed. I opened the Photos app and began scrolling through. Most were ordinary, family events, fishing trips, holiday gatherings. But about a month before he died, there was a series of pictures that felt out of place. They were taken in what looked like a storage unit. The walls were metal, the floor concrete. In the center of the frame was a small wooden box, carved with an intricate pattern. In the next photo, the box was open, revealing a stack of envelopes tied with string. In the last photo, the envelopes were spread out on a table. I zoomed in on one. My name was written on it in my father's handwriting. I felt my breath hitch. My father had prepared something for me. But where was it now? The next morning, I drove to every storage facility in town. On my fourth stop, I found it. A small, unassuming building on the edge of the industrial district. When I asked the clerk about Daniel Carter, she hesitated, then checked her computer. Yes, there is a unit under that name. But the account was closed last week. The belongings were removed. My stomach dropped. Do you know who picked them up? She shook her head. Sorry. I just know it was handled in person. Male, mid-40s, baseball cap. The same man I had seen at Linda's house. That night, as rain tapped against my windows, I finally received a call from Linda's number. I answered on the first ring. Linda. Her voice was low, shaky. I do not have much time. They know you are looking. They know I talked to you. Who are they? I demanded. Your father used to work for a logistics company, but it was a front. They were moving things, cash, documents, that were not supposed to exist. He got out years ago, but they never stopped watching him. I gripped the phone tighter. What does that have to do with me? There was a pause. One of the shipments. It was not money. It was information. About people in this town. Powerful people. Your father kept copies. That is what they think you might have now. The wooden box. The envelopes. My name written on one. They will not stop until they get it, she said. Where is it? Her voice trembled. Hidden. But not for long. I will try to get it to you. There was a noise on her end, muffled voices. Then the line went dead. I barely slept. At sunrise, I drove to my mother's house. She was at the kitchen sink, washing dishes. I know about the box, I said without preamble. Her hands froze in the soapy water. You should not have gone looking for it. You knew, I accused. You knew he was involved in something dangerous, and you did not tell me. She turned slowly, her face pale. Because I wanted to protect you. That box. It holds things that could ruin lives. Your father never wanted you to see it. But he wrote my name on one of the envelopes, I said. Tears welled in her eyes. Because it was meant for you if something happened to him. But not for now. Not while these people are still out there. I shook my head. It is too late for that. They already think I have it. She sank into a chair, looking suddenly older. Then you need to leave town. Tonight. I did not leave. That evening, I received another message from the unknown number. If you want to end this, meet me where he used to fish. Midnight. The place was obvious. My father had a favorite fishing spot by the river, down a dirt road past the old mill. I should have told someone. I should have called the police. But part of me needed to see this through. The night air was damp and cold. The moon was half hidden by clouds as I parked my car and walked toward the riverbank. A figure stood near the water. The baseball cap made him instantly recognizable. You have something that belongs to us, he said, his voice low. I do not, I replied. But I know about the box. He stepped closer. Then you know why you should hand it over. I do not have it, I said again, forcing my voice to stay steady. And I do not know where it is. He studied me for a long moment, then smirked. Then you better hope your friend does not talk. Before I could respond, he turned and disappeared into the trees. 2 days later, Linda's body was found in her car, parked on a back road outside town. The police called it a suicide. I knew better. Grief twisted into something sharper, resolve. I went back through my father's phone one last time. In the Notes app, hidden under an unrelated title, I found it, an address. It led to a cabin on the outskirts of town, one my father used to take us to when we were kids. Inside, under a loose floorboard, was the wooden box. I sat on the dusty floor, the box in my lap, my hands trembling as I untied the string around the envelopes. The one with my name was on top. Inside was a letter. My father's handwriting, firm but hurried. Emily, if you are reading this, it means I could not keep this from reaching you any longer. What is inside these envelopes is dangerous, but it is also the truth. I kept it because the people involved should not be allowed to hide forever. But it is not my decision what happens next. It is yours. I love you, Dad. I looked at the other envelopes. Each one was labeled with a name I recognized. Names of local officials, business owners, even a police chief. I understood now. The truth was a weapon. One that could either bring justice or destroy everything my father had tried to protect. I closed the box and sat in the dim cabin, the sound of rain against the roof. My father had left me a choice. And for the first time, I was not sure if I wanted the answers I had been chasing all along.